Welcome to the Dream Journal. From the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, the Dream Journal is a weekly show where we explore the power of nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with listeners like you. A dream can be meaningful even if you don't know what it means. And today's music, coming in just a moment, called Healing the Veil. Okay, today you will meet Jessie Lyon, a clinical hypnotherapist with an extensive background in trauma, anxiety, dissociative disorders, and the neurodivergent community. He's a viral social media influencer with over 2 million followers, captivating hearts worldwide. I am your host, Catherine Bell of Experiential, Dreamwork, and welcome to the Dream Journal. So I'm mulling over a dream I had recently of a book full of tapestry, like tapestry samples, all this gold thread and beautiful orange and red and different pages. And on the very last page is the picture of the woman who made the tapestry. And she comes out of the book and I get to give her a hug. So that has made me think about the things that I have been weaving, the tapestry of my life. So, welcome to Jessie Lyon. Good to have you on the show.
Thanks, Catherine. It's great to be here. This is great.
Excellent. Okay. Trauma, hypnotherapy, nightmares, and counseling. Jessie Lyon, MS, LMHC, believes that dreams speak in the language of the subconscious mind and offer powerful insights into recovery for mental health. His mission is to bring this tool to clinicians and the general public so they can heal and live the lives they were always meant to live. You can find him at lyoncounseling.care and on TikTok at Lyon Mental Health, and Lyon is spelled Lyon. Lyon Mental Health. So, Jessie, we interacted at the IESD conference in June, and I got to hear a little bit about you. And so I'm like, let's get that guy on my show. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I feel honored to be here. I have been attending the IESD conferences and presenting there for a few years now, and it's great to run into you each time. I look forward to it every year.
It's a great networking opportunity to get involved with other dream, passionate people. So I wanted to start out by talking about your tagline that you have said, your mind is not against you, it's just misunderstood. I wonder if you'd like to say a little more about that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so my background is in counseling. And as I grew in the counseling field, I took a course in hypnotherapy. And understanding the language of the subconscious through hypnotherapy has really changed everything that I do. And trauma has some real repercussions.
Oh, yeah.
One of them is you kind of become at war with yourself. And so my mission, the heart of what I do, is to help people learn that all parts of you are working together to try and help you heal. And so the first step of recovery is learning that you're your best friend, not your enemy. And that's where that tagline really comes from. It's a lot of in-person practical work, helping people take steps to recover from the trauma.
Well, and that's not easy to do, especially if we've had trauma. It may be that I don't trust the world, and I certainly don't trust myself and my choices in the world. So learning to trust ourselves seems really, and trusting our mind in specific, as in your line there, is not always easy.
No, it's not always easy. But I think when you understand the way to interpret the things that your mind and your body are doing, it becomes a lot easier. The subconscious mind speaks just a different language. And so maybe, I live in Florida, and so there's a lot of Spanish-speaking community here, and I love it. It makes this community so much brighter and better. But when they speak in Spanish, I may not understand it. That doesn't mean that there's something offensive or they're talking about me or gossiping about me. It's just, I need to learn Spanish. We need to
Right.
learn the language of our mind.
And so, do all minds speak the same language, or do you find that different people have different, different people's minds have different language? And yeah, in other words, just like some ideas about how to decode what our mind is how it's trying to help us.
Yeah, I think there's levels to it.
Mm.
Just like when you make a new friend, you kind of learn their idiosyncrasies, but maybe you're both speaking English over that first cup of coffee as you learn what your interests and likes are. Your mind is the same way. There's a language that it speaks with metaphors and emotions and symbols. Then you have, at a deeper level, your own personal nuance. And so the more that you talk, the more that you create a friendship with those emotional parts of yourself, the easier it becomes.
Mm. Yeah, I'm always struck by the variety of approaches that people have, because everybody's experience is unique, and so they may have different things that different trigger points, or different things that are upsetting, or different places to find comfort. And so, like, whenever I'm working with a client or just a friend, like, I'm really listening. I really feel like I'm trying to learn their language and to help them to learn their mind's language, right? So I have to kind of tune into who they are to some degree to find out what will help them.
Yeah, I'm very much with you on that. I think every person sort of has a core struggle at the center of them.
Oh,
Maybe there's a little bit reminiscent of the movie Inside Out, right? We've got core memories, and those create some lasting patterns. But we're the same way. And so I think once you kind of understand a person's pattern, like what things are really important to them, you could start to speak to them more specifically and directly. And I think maybe that's how I relate to what you're saying now.
mm. Yeah, it can be that people don't know their own struggles. Like, I have a long history as a scientist, that I was raised in a family of scientists, and so it seemed natural for me to go into physics, and I went into astrophysics. I worked at NASA for a long time, and I didn't realize that that was not appropriate for me, that was like not the best path for me, or at least,
Hmm.
it took me many years and a whole 12 years of grad school and 11 years working at NASA to realize, like, actually, I don't really like this. It's not right.
Oh man, we all do that, right?
I
It's like
know,
I don't know who I thought I was, but it's
right.
not.
Yeah,
This ain't it.
totally, this ain't it, exactly. And yet, if you'd asked me, I would say, "Oh, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and there's no struggle here." And yet, my dreams, like, that was a big clue for me, is that my dreams were really bleak, and they had all these battles.
Mm.
Like, I would see these battles from very, very far away, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, well, that doesn't affect me. That's just a battle over there." And so that was kind of helpful for me to recognize, oh, there's actually a battle going on in me, because I didn't think so. I thought I was fine. I mean, I was not happy, but I thought that was normal too. I thought being unhappy was just normal.
Oh man, yeah, conflict.
Yeah,
Battles, conflict. Well, I'll give you an example of my own.
sure.
I feel like I've been telling everybody about this recently, but I'm 32,
Hmm.
and I just this year got diagnosed with ADHD.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, had it
Uh-huh.
my whole life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so, I'm going through the assessment that they give you to go meet with the psychiatrist and stuff. And I'm a counselor. I've been a counselor for over 10 years. I've given these same assessments to all my clients, but well, wouldn't you know it, I've never taken it myself.
Oh,
And
no,
so
really.
there I am at like the highest degree of anxiety you can score on this chart.
Oh,
And
seriously? Wow.
yeah, for
Uh,
real. And
uh,
so this counselor, or this psychiatrist, it's like, hey, you technically have clinical depression and clinical anxiety, but
wow.
I think it's your ADHD causing that. And I never knew, Catherine, because
Yeah, yeah.
my life had just always felt that way. Yeah,
Right,
I never
right.
knew anything else.
Right, I understand that, but they say, "Oh, this is all normal." Of course, that's totally normal. And so that's one of the things about how do you recognize what needs to change. And so hopefully, once you got that advice, you also got some support, and learned how to deal with that.
I did. I
Yeah.
did.
Mhm.
Started some medication, which has been nice. Learned to treat myself with a little bit more kindness. Had conversations with my friends. But I think that really is the key. There's only so much feedback we can get from ourselves directly. We need our relationships with our friends and our
Oh,
loved
yeah.
ones. We need to observe what our behaviors are. And I'm a scientist like you. And
Hmm.
so we gather data
Yep.
from many streams and many different places. So that way we can come up with the best hypothesis and proceed with what we think is the best solution. And that stuff is so important. I find a lot of my clients, especially with trauma, they kind of hide away.
Hmm.
And when you hide away, you're going to lose that feedback, which is so important for you to grow. And dreams are one of those types of feedback that I think are critically important.
Absolutely. It's so true. I mean, yeah, but I was the queen of dissociation. I actually was so dissociated from my own literal physical feelings that I almost died of a ruptured appendix
Oh,
in
wow.
2005 because I thought, I knew I was in pain, but I thought it didn't matter. I thought it wasn't important. And
Yeah, it's
so
so
I
funny how we
ignored
do
it
that.
for 3 days. I totally ignored it. I'm like, oh, no, I don't need to deal with this. Nope, it's fine. And but I want to get back to the whole neurodivergence thing. Like it's interesting that you talk about yourself, and I'm sure you have clients as well who have ADHD and other kinds of neurodivergence. And how does that affect dreaming? How does it affect their dreams?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole spectrum of neurodivergency, and it's a bit of a cultural buzzword
Mm-hmm.
right now, and so we want to make sure we understand what that means. And neurodivergence is just the brain is structured in a little bit of a different way from what the majority of individuals maybe experience. And so my ADHD brain
Mm-hmm.
can struggle to regulate dopamine, right? And so that means my attention bounces around very frequently.
Mm-hmm.
Those who are maybe on the autism spectrum also have differences in the way that they think and they process and digest information. And you're going to see that in their dreams. My dreams can tend to be very disjointed when I share them with other people. Other people will have these long and dramatic and almost magnificent stories. Mine are like little snapshots. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one that I had recently was I was at a party, not wearing pants.
Of
Classic, very
course.
simple. Of course. And there was this teenager putting a cup of coffee in the microwave over and over again. Um, my dreams are very much like that. It's like, what kind of mad lib dream is this? But I really have to attribute that to my ADHD.
Yeah.
It's those dreams are very powerful for me, but they're an authentic expression of the way that my brain processes information.
Right. I mean, it seems like that particular dream, if I may make a reflection for you on that dream.
Oh, please, yeah.
Yeah, it almost seems like it's commenting on the ADHD itself, like I'm super sensitive to coffee. Like this, a sip of coffee is like would get me bouncing off the walls. And what I imagine about ADHD is that it is a bit like bouncing off the walls and just the attention moving here and there. And so putting the coffee in the microwave over and over again, it's like more coffee, more coffee, more energy, more energy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I think that's a great reflection on it. My additional personal reflection on it is sometimes I can overdo it with the ADHD. Sometimes it's hard for me to know when to put something down. So that hyperfixation can be difficult, and that's what it is. Just putting that cup of coffee in the microwave over and over and over again. Sometimes I have to learn, hey, let's put it down. Let's move on. Let it
Yeah,
go, man.
let it go. We've done that. We've done that often enough. We've done that over and
Yep.
over again. Yeah, excellent. So, what about any other forms of dreams? Like, what about people who are artistic? Do they have different kinds of dream patterns that you've seen?
Yeah, the patterns that I see with those on the autism spectrum
Yeah.
can be, well, there's a couple. I find that those on the spectrum tend to have very violent dreams, but they're not violent in the way that you would expect from somebody who's experienced trauma. They're violent in a different way. It's almost more cut and dry. Like, here's this conflict, and this conflict is being shown in a very literal way. Those who experience trauma are almost like replaying the trauma, and so
Yeah.
that violence is very emotional. For those on the spectrum, it's not necessarily emotional. It's just a very clear metaphor for what they're going through. They also tend to be much more story driven. There's a lot of a story that seems to happen. Again, that's my subjective experience working with individuals on the spectrum.
Wait,
And they
say
can
more?
also be very logical.
Wait, I missed that. I didn't quite follow. What is that about the story? Story driven. Say more about that, please.
Yeah, story driven. So, mine are a little bit more disjointed. They're almost like pictures.
Yeah.
So the emotion is captured in this picture. But those on the spectrum, there is much more of a story. Each of these characters, or, if you're into Jungian psychoanalysis, archetypes, or parts of self, whatever you choose to call them, each of these parts are playing a role, and there's an intense story. One of the things I appreciate about working with my clients on the autism spectrum is that they have such a deep and beautiful story that they are walking through in their day to day. And that's reflected in their dreams. Very narrative driven, I find.
That's very different from the serious snapshots that you're talking about or more the ADHD style.
Oh yeah, very different. I mean, I'll give you even one more.
Yeah, please.
It's a little known term, but I find it very interesting. It's called aphantasia. Have you heard of aphantasia?
Absolutely. That's where you cannot picture images in your mind. I've had a guest on talking about that. That's a fascinating issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So aphantasia dreams are very different. Aphantasia being when you close your eyes, you have no sort of visual imagination. And that's me too. I have ADHD, and when I close my eyes, there's nothing there.
Oh.
So my dreams do not have a lot of visual detail, but that's okay. Dreams are trying to communicate emotions and subconscious, because my subconscious doesn't sort of encapsulate emotional information in visual images. It does it in different ways. And so that's why mine can be a little bit like a caricature. It has to express it in an exaggerated style, because I can't see the fine detail of the dream images.
Right. And so do you have more audio images and sense touch things, or what? Do you have other senses that compensate in those dreams, or?
It's hard to explain to somebody who has a visual imagination. The best explanation I've ever heard is if you think about a feeling. If I was to say to everyone listening to this, if you can think about envy, right? Just think about that term envy. Are you feeling envious right now? Well, probably not.
No.
But you can think about it.
Okay, sure.
And so that's the way that my brain works. I can think about something, but I don't have to feel it. I don't have to see it. And so it's not necessarily auditory, but my brain processes ideas. It's almost like, you ever seen it, maybe in college or in high school, a mind map? There's this one idea, and shooting off of these ideas are other connected ideas. You usually use it for studying.
Yes.
That's almost the way my brain works. When I think of something, I think of all the things sort of connected to it.
Okay. Oh, interesting. So that sounds like it could be actually really useful, like these associations. I've heard that dreaming kind of tends to break our kind of fixation over certain associations and opens us up to other possible associations, so that we're not just stuck in one train of thought, one habit of thought, and that the dreaming tends to break some of those habits.
Yeah, I very much agree. And, honestly, with the ADHD and the aphantasia, I attribute that very much to my skill in helping people find the meaning of their dreams. Because think about it, when somebody tells me their dream, I cannot see it with them.
True.
So I don't get lost in my imaginary detail. I have to ask questions to understand their specific detail, and those questions help them explore. So it actually eliminates my possibility for misunderstanding their dream, because I can't see it anyway.
Oh,
so
interesting.
I think it helps.
Okay, yeah, maybe so. Because when I hear a dream, I'm immediately constructing it in my mind and seeing, okay, the door's over there and there's the window, and it may not be like that at all. So I have to keep checking back in with the dreamer. But you don't have that inner imagination. So
exactly.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, that's very cool.
I like it, Well, I'm stuck with the brain that I've got. So
you might as well like it, right?
back to the motto, your mind's not against you. I'm like, I could be frustrated that I don't have a visual brain, or I could learn to appreciate the benefits that it gives me. And maybe we're making full circle here. That's the message. Like, I've got the brain that I've got, so better to appreciate it than to be at war with myself. Think of all the lost psychic energy. Think of all the lost opportunity, because I'm so busy fighting myself. I don't get to appreciate the wonderful things that I can do.
Right. Okay. I think that's fascinating. And it helps to have more information, like all the years that you never took the tests yourself, so you didn't know these things about yourself, and yet once you found out the ADHD, then you had ways, and the depression, there's ways to work with that. And so information is power.
Yes, information is power.
Yep. Just like those battles I was seeing when I was working for NASA. Like, okay, that's good to know. There's some kind of war going on inside me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think it just makes sense when you stop and think about it. If we spend a third of our life asleep, well, we're supposed to. How
Hopefully.
much sleep do we
Yes.
actually get?
Totally.
I've got to. I was telling you that I drove into the office for this show today, and you reminded me it's audio only. I have a toddler at home, so my sleep amount and my noise level is very high.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
if we think about it, like so much of our life is spent asleep. And then we have these dreams, which can be terribly disruptive for the day ahead. Here I've got stuff to get done, but I'm thinking about this emotional dream. Well, that just doesn't make sense. There must be something to the dream that is significant and important to us. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense that we would have evolved to be this way.
Right.
So if we slow down and we think about it, what function is this dream serving? And I think it's a desperate cry from a deeper part of ourself, the subconscious part of ourself, to heal. And so here's this dream showing you conflict. It's like, yeah, Catherine, it's off in the distance, but you're at war with yourself. And eventually this battle's going to come closer and you're going to have to really take a look. Your mind's looking out for you. And, I just try and be friends with myself in that way.
Right. So to trusting it, even if you don't understand it.
Yes.
That's so valuable. Exactly. So I'm curious now to shift gears a little bit and talk about how do we educate people about the power of these dreams? Because we're talking about how dreams can really highlight what's going on inside of us. They can even be diagnostic of these various conditions. And yet, I've read a lot of studies that say that clinicians hardly ever use dreams with their clients. Do you have any and I know that one of the things that you like to do is to try to teach this tool to clinicians. And what do you have any sense about why clinicians so rarely use dreams?
Oh yeah, I've got so many thoughts on this topic about teaching, about how to do it. I'm prolific on social media. I do a lot of content there because I think it's accessible and it's a way to educate people. But I think the reason that clinicians don't use it is there's probably a couple things. The first is it's just not taught, right? If you look at graduate education programs, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find ones that have any kind of dream therapy inside of the course. And I don't really fault the educational system for it. There's so much information they have to pack in that 2.5 years before you go get your license that there's just not room for it.
Well, Jesse, I've heard this before, and I just want to interrupt because I kind of have this little parallel that I've heard medical doctors get hardly any information about nutrition because there's so many other things to learn. And so it's kind of a parallel thing, like our nightly nutrition is the dreams. And yet that's just a teeny fraction of what is ever taught. So people aren't not taught how to work with dreams. So,
and I think that, like I said, I think that's okay in some ways, only if we have a good philosophy of use when it comes to medical professionals. If you go to your doctor, right, your general practice doctor, and expect them to know absolutely everything, that's just not a realistic expectation. Your general doctor is supposed to sort of, okay, what's going on here? We need to make a referral. And then they send you to a specialist who does know a lot more about that specific topic. And so, I don't expect a surgeon or a doctor to know about nutrition necessarily, but I do expect them to recognize when there's a problem and say, this is bigger than just me. I'm going to refer you to a nutritionist. And that's sort of where I come in. My colleagues will call me and be like, Jesse, I got a client who had a really intense dream. Can I ask you about it, or can I refer them to you for just one session so they can process that dream with you and bring that information back to me for their weekly counseling? Like, yes, we're supposed to work together. You can't expect one person to know everything. We need each other. It's almost like a poetic beauty to it, right? Is we need each other because no one person can know all.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's it. That's great. That's an interesting way to do it because instead of being competing with each other, think, well, this is my client. I shouldn't let him go to someone else. Why not call on the expertise that we have?
Yeah,
individual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think one part's the graduate education program, but then the other part, I think, is embarrassment. I think clients are kind of used to being vulnerable in the session, but I don't think counselors are. I think that when a client brings up a topic or some information that's sort of outside of the wheelhouse of that counselor or therapist, they'll sort of shy away and go back to what they know, some CBT worksheets or
Right.
motivational interviewing. And so it's vulnerable to do dream work. I tell my clients all the time, like, listen, I'm a scientist first. There's a scientific method that we use in therapy where I'm going to collect data from your story. You're going to tell me. I'm going to come up with a hypothesis, and then we're going to test it together. I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking, and we're going to try it out during the week. And my goal is for you to tell me where I'm wrong so I can get better for you. It takes some humility, right? When I invite my client to tell me where I'm wrong, that helps me be a better clinician. But I have to sort of check my ego at the door. And I think that can be difficult for therapists because, well, when your client's telling you, hey, great idea, but you're wrong, you have to have a strong sense of self to be like, oh man, thank you so much for telling me that. That's great. Let me come up with a new idea. Let's work on this together.
Right.
That's good modeling for the client too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that happens a lot around dreaming because, sometimes the client will bring a dream and says, so what do you think it means? I'm like, well, that's not quite how it works, actually. Let's ask some questions, and then you can tell me what resonates for you. And, and that's kind of, maybe some counselors like to be like the answer, like they have the answer. But there is no one answer. It depends on the person.
Yeah, they like to have that answer. And so maybe just to share with everybody else, the way that I answer that question, client comes in my office and sits down, like, here's my dream. What does it mean? And I'll tell him, be like, you know what? I have no idea.
Right.
But I'm going to help you figure it out.
Yep.
And that's my approach to most things. It's like, I don't know, but that's kind of exciting because it means we're going to learn something new. And I do know the steps to get you to the answer, but I don't know the answer.
Right.
And that's great because my goal is to empower you, not to just be, some, guru on top of a hill that has all the solutions for everything. I want you to live your life. I want you to be empowered, like you said, Catherine, with information.
Yep.
So you feel bold and can go forward to live the life you're supposed to live.
Yeah, you can learn to trust your own intuition.
Yes. Oh, man, I love it. When somebody learns the skills to trust themselves, that's beautiful.
And, we don't always get to the bottom of dreams. So, I had a session recently where, we had a lot of insights about a lot of the dreams. But one particular segment, we just didn't, it was just not clear. I mean, it was nothing, there was no big aha. It was just like, there's something here. And like, maybe we just have to leave it at that and go like, there's something here. And then maybe I can keep mulling that over and I'll have a clarification dream or something. Or my client will have a clarification dream. And so that we don't have to know the answer. Well, like you have a tagline, I have a tagline too, which is a dream can be meaningful even if you don't know what it means. And so to get to that sense of like, there's something here without even being able to put it in words. And maybe that's still valuable. That's all you need sometimes.
Oh, I 100% agree. 100% agree. I mean, I think the way I'm empathizing with what you say is I think sometimes our mind is wiser than we are, and it will share stuff that it knows we're not ready to understand the full thing. I do hypnotherapy, and that's a big part of my practice for trauma. And a lot of people will come in and they'll say, hey, there's a big segment of my life that I don't remember, which if clinically is a big sign that there could be trauma there because the brain sort of forgets traumatic things because they're so painful.
Yep.
They're like, I want to use hypnosis to get those memories back. And I'm like, well, I hear that and I empathize with that. However, it's not really the best way to use it because if the brain is covering up some memory, there's a reason for that. And I want to respect that.
Yep.
When you feel strong enough and when you heal enough that your mind recognizes you have that strength to learn what actually happened in that forgotten memory, it will naturally reveal it in its own time. And I think dreams are the same way. When you need to know, your mind will let you know. That's the trust part. And so to your tagline, a dream is definitely useful, even if you don't know what it means, because you may not be ready to know what it means yet, but that seed needs to be planted for the time when you are ready to know what it means, and it is time for action.
Absolutely, I love that. That's well said. The ruptured appendix that I was talking about was an example of a time when I was in the hospital for 10 days, and there was a lot of that I totally did not remember. I was just like I would get little flashes of memories from there, and that was fine for a long time. And about 10 years after that event. This was in 2005. So about 10 years later, I was working with a dream coach, and I started having tons and tons of really horrific nightmares, like many times a week. And we just worked with them one at a time as they went. And then something kind of shifted, and I felt like I was kind of came through something. And that's when I had the aha that a lot of those nightmares were about that time when I had ruptured my appendix and when I almost died. And I was starting to I didn't really remember any more memories per se, but I was able to integrate that experience at a whole nother level than I had before, and using the dreams without needing to know that that's what those nightmares were about. But still, I felt something really just totally unwound in me and resolved in me, and it felt so much better. Once I had found a place where I was safe enough to explore that memory, that it unraveled a lot of the trauma.
Yeah, I very much agree. And in hypnotherapy, we do something similar. There's such a parallel between dreams and hypnosis because they're similar brain states. Like when you hook somebody up to an MRI machine, you track what the brain is doing. The brain looks very similar when you're in a state of hypnosis as it does when it's dreaming. And so, I think of hypnotherapy as dreaming on purpose for the same sort of recovery and emotional processing. And so, we go on speaking tours, and, I just got back from the University of Miami this week, and, I got another university next week that I'll be presenting at, and they ask the students, will I remember what you say and the work that we do in the hypnotic state? And I say, only if you need to. Because sometimes I'll even give the suggestion that my client will not remember what we experience inside of hypnosis because I know that they are an overly analytical person who will probably sabotage the emotional work that we're doing in hypnosis. And so I'll give them that suggestion to not consciously remember. I know subconsciously it's in there. I can see the results of the work that we're doing, but I don't want them to have the opportunity or to overthink this stuff and start to sabotage that very beautiful, very precious work inside of their deeper emotional self.
Oh, that's fascinating. So even if they don't remember the session, they still get that benefit of that emotional work?
Yeah, and sometimes it's even better that they don't remember. The work is even more potent, more powerful in that way.
That's fascinating. So
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Jesse, well, maybe we'll talk a little more about this after the break because I'm really curious about this whole process of hypnotherapy. So let's go take a short break, and we'll then come back and keep talking. Our guest today is Jesse Lyon, and he is a hypnotherapist, deals with counselor, deals with nightmares and trauma, and his webpage is lyoncounseling.care, Lyon, lyoncounseling.care. And he's on TikTok at Lyon Mental Health. So we are broadcast live from the KSQD studios in Santa Cruz and co-broadcast live in San Jose by KCXU and podcast everywhere. We're also broadcast even Saturdays at KOWS up in Sonoma. We'll be right back. You are listening to the Dream Journal. I am Catherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork. Welcome back. I'd like to send out a special welcome to our far-flung listeners. We have the all over California crew, Aptos, Sunnyvale, Union City, Dublin, Fresno, LA, Whittier, Rialto. Then we have British Columbia, Nashville, Tennessee, Palmetto, Florida, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Quebec, and Nova Scotia. A truly international show again today. So people really are interested in dreaming, and so if you would like to help us nudge the algorithm and spread interest in dreaming, please follow the Dream Journal on your favorite podcast app. And if you are inspired, leave us a rating or a review. It helps more than you know. But most importantly, tell your friends about the Dream Journal. The main thing that I'd like to say about the Dream Journal is to get people interested in talking about dreams. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn at Experiential Dreamwork and hashtag the Dream Journal. Also, please contact me if you'd like to be a guest on the show. Although I'll tell you, I'm booked out till the middle of March, if not late March. We've got a lot of guests happening. But anyway, give me a call. Why not? If you have a new book or you want to let folks know about your dream-related offerings. Next week, we'll be talking to Sandy Madison about using your own dream journal as a self-help manual, learning to trust your dreams and how to recognize which ones are precognitive. Diving Before Dawn with Sandy Madison. All right, today's guest is Jesse Lyon, Lyon, and he is a hypnotherapist and a clinical psychologist, and he practices out of Florida. He has a TikTok following of over 2 million people. So we have people on the line. Look at this. We've got 2 people who have called in, and the first one,
that's great.
Yeah, we got some really good interest going on here. So the first note that I was handed is, and thank you, Eric Nelson, was Jacob. So hello, Jacob. Where are you calling from?
Hello, I'm from Florida.
Oh, great. Thanks for calling, Jacob. What can we do for you today?
Well, I had a question about a dream. So the first question is, how do you know if a reoccurring dream is trying to tell me something, or if it's just like a glitch in my brain?
Good question.
Ooh, it's a great way to put it. My glitch in the brain. Yeah, sometimes I do have glitches in the brain. Don't I? It's like, what am I doing?
Right.
My opinion and what I've seen clinically, this is a great question, one that gets asked all the time. If your brain is taking the time to give you a message over and over again, there's something significant. And furthermore, I would say that if the dream is being repeated, then the message that you need to receive has not yet been received. Your brain's like, come on, man, I'm trying. Right. The line is busy, so I'm going to keep going until I get through. Yeah. Maybe it's like this radio show with all the callers coming in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I would say if you have a recurring dream, there's something your mind's trying to tell you, you just haven't got it yet, or you're facing a repeating struggle. And so, maybe Catherine, similar to the faraway battle dreams reoccurring. It's like, well, you're getting that over and over.
Totally, right. And maybe the glitch in the brain is something you should know about, right?
Yeah, that could be.
There's, if there's a stick on the album, it's like, oh, you got to get out your cleaner and clean it up a little. There's something going on. Something to pay attention to.
Great question,
Love that.
Jacob. Anything else to it?
Yes, one more question. So what if I dream of a version of myself that feels like more real than I do awake?
Whoa. Could I ask a follow-up? Like when you say more real than you do while you're awake, is that like emotional, or you feel stronger, or what do you mean more real?
More of an emotional way.
Oh.
So like more access to your emotions kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a great question. When we dream, our mind is processing all these different parts of ourselves, and it's almost like a setting, like a stage where all these different parts of ourselves can act out how they're interacting with one another. And so, I would imagine, Jacob, that there is a part of you that perhaps does feel more real and more authentic, more emotional than the part of you that is there in your day-to-day waking life. And I would imagine that your dream is giving you the opportunity to experience what living in a more authentic and emotionally congruent way is like. So that way you can start to take steps towards living that way in your waking life. So I would think of it as a gift. Does that resonate with you?
Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Jacob, one thing that comes up for me is that studies have shown that when we're asleep, especially when we're dreaming, the prefrontal cortex is very quiescent, that's the part of the brain that's the most active when we're awake. And so it's the part that judges and plans, and so we suspend our own judgment. We suspend our own filter when we're sleeping. So maybe that's part of what's going on in waking life. I know I've been really prone to that, suspending my own filter is helpful because I can filter my own emotions down to nothing sometimes. So,
Yeah.
maybe you're connecting with some part of yourself that's beyond the judge.
Yeah, that is true. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate that.
All right. Thanks, Jacob.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jacob.
Bye-bye.
All right. We have a second caller on the line. It is Jenny. Please say hello, Jenny.
Hi.
Hi.
Catherine and Jesse.
Where are you calling from, Jenny?
I'm calling from Santa Cruz. You know me.
Oh, Jenny, wait.
Jenny D'Angelo.
Oh, D'Angelo, that's why your voice is so familiar. You were a guest not that long ago. Thank you, Jenny.
Well, as you were saying your opening today, Catherine, and I heard you say, night dreams, and then listening to Jesse be able to sort of talk about different brain states or movements or patterns. So I wonder if, there are daydreams, there are meditations. Yesterday I was part of a huge global meditation, but it's not night dreams. And I have big visions. Yes, I do have clear visual impressions. And also now connecting with our beloved dead. All of these seem to be different kinds of communications and ways to have insight and ways to have communication. So I wonder if you can speak a little. Jesse, it was so interesting to hear you really be able to delineate in some, clear way these different states a little bit, or conditions, or ways of receiving that are not night dreams.
Yeah, like with the hypnotherapy and with all these altered brain states that allow us to connect in ways that are similar to dreaming. But, I use it clinically, like we can do it on purpose, which is great because, if I have to wait for sleep and sometimes maybe I can't sleep or whatever, it can be difficult. So having a method to access that same brain state more assuredly, more accurately is a super helpful clinical tool.
Right. And
When you said access the same brain state, does that mean that all of these liminal experiences are in a way same brain state?
I would hesitate to say they're all the same. I think that there are many different brain states, but the things that we see, the spontaneous imagery that happens in hypnosis is clearly very similar to dreams, at least from my experience and from the research that I've read. So I don't know if I'd say it's totally the same because, we need sleep. There's certain restorative properties that sleep gives us that, hypnotherapy is not. And there's certain things that, I as a clinician can do in hypnotherapy that I can't just whisper in your ear while you sleep to get those accomplished. So similar, but certainly different. But because there's similarities, we can, sort of research and look into that and then understand ourselves a little bit more deeply.
Can we maybe access the subconscious from some of these waking states too, as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hypnotherapy is direct interface with the subconscious. That's what we're doing.
And I bet some of these visions, like Jenny's talking about, are also direct access to the subconscious.
Yeah, and that's because I'm making so much content online and social media. That's a question I get asked a lot. What about astral projection or the metaphysical plane? And maybe my response is disappointing to some, but I say, listen, I'm licensed under the Department of Health. I'm a scientist first. I study philosophy, like that's what I like. Do you want the spiritual answers? Like I couldn't tell you. I'm not a spiritual leader. Go ask your pastor or spiritual leader. They'll let you know their opinion on it. I'll stick to the science, and I'll tell you the science of it, though. And I think that's my contribution to the field.
Well, I just happen to know Jenny D'Angelo is a bit of a mystic herself and a poet and a powerful visionary, and I applaud all these efforts to make connections to our deeper selves. I think all of this is helpful.
Love that. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, the experience yesterday in this global meditation, the power of the energy in it allows each individual to have greater sight and insight. And so I just found it very powerful, very fascinating, and very a larger engagement in the sort of inner dreaming, if you will, inner visioning process.
Well, I think personally that there is a lot of benefit in getting together with other people, that there's a resonance that happens, and maybe there's no way to detect it scientifically. But I have certainly experienced, like, online during the pandemic, even the Zooms with 500 people meditating at the same time, and that there's some sense of connection. There's something that really can support us. And even Carl Jung was a fan of what he called the collective unconscious. There's a way that somehow that we are connected, maybe even below the subconscious, maybe even at a much deeper level, on the level of life itself or something. But there is a benefit even in a dream group of small number of people, or sharing your dream with one other person, that I think any kind of group experience can enhance these kind of resonances with us.
There's actually a kind of an emerging sort of topic. It's called panpsychism, and it's a scientific topic. I certainly won't go into it because it's miserably complicated.
Okay.
But it's very interesting because it's sort of pioneered by physicists on the quantum level. And so what they're sort of finding, or the hypothesis behind panpsychism, is that as we divide particles smaller and smaller, we get down to the quarks and the strings. They're kind of wondering what these strings are. We know that they vibrate, and it's very strange that everything's made up of strings. The theory that's been proposed is that the building blocks of all matter, down to a very small level, is actually consciousness. And so the building blocks of all is consciousness. So when we are connected with others, or even connected with physical things or living beings, it's actually one expression, or our personal experience of the collective consciousness of everything, which is so interesting that Carl Jung sort of proposed this idea so long ago of the collective unconscious. And now we're sort of seeing that idea reemerge in a much more concrete scientific form in panpsychism. Again, not to get into it, but maybe a nice term to Google later if you want a great rabbit hole to go down.
Love that. Thank you so much, Jesse. And Jenny, thank you for calling. This is a very...
Thank you for being there and opening up these kinds of questions to the community. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And it's nice to hear from you again.
Bye.
Right. Take care. So we have a third caller on the line from somebody named Julie. Oh, that's 3 J's in a row. And, the synchronicity, perhaps? Jacob, Jenny, Julie.
Jesse.
And Jesse. Yeah, there it is. So, Julie, hello. Where are you calling from?
I'm actually calling from New Brunswick, Canada.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for being a listener, and thanks for calling in. What can we do for you?
Oh, I actually know Jesse.
Great.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Julie.
Hey.
Love it.
So, Jesse and I actually, I have an aphantasia as well.
Oh,
and
yep.
So where he has like character type dreams, I have like more feeling type dreams. And I guess we've talked about how PTSD dreams kind of manifest in people with aphantasia more on a physical level. And I'm just wondering, Jesse, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a great prompt, Julie. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
There's kind of like levels of intensity when it comes to dreams, and some of the most intense are the clinical symptom of post-traumatic nightmares. That's really how I got into this field and that topic, because I'm a counselor first, and a lot of the patients that I work with, because I am specialized in trauma, they would talk to me about these nightmares, and they're very, very intense, oftentimes to the intensity where they are physically experiencing these things and will have pain in dreams. And that's not common. When you're having a night terror or a PTSD dream, you might experience pain in the dream. And that's not what we see most people experience when they dream. But that can be even more intense with somebody with aphantasia, because that's the way that they process the world, is through those physical experiences. And so Julie and I have gotten the opportunity to talk about that a lot and make some podcasts and some content about it. But it can be difficult. It's not that you're necessarily being hurt in the dream. Well, because you're laying in bed. So you're not actually being, hurt or, assaulted in that way. But those same parts of the brain are lighting up because the brain's like, well, we had this experience.
Right.
And this experience was really, really intense. So intense that it kind of threatens our identity. It threatens our way of living. And the brain will repeat that and go over it time and time again, back to Jacob's question about repeating dreams, in an attempt to process it, in an attempt to try and integrate that experience with our larger life narrative. And sometimes it gets stuck. And so it doesn't know where to really place that. I think the way that I've heard it described very well is it's like our memories are a filing cabinet. And when one of those memories is particularly intense and doesn't fit into the categories that we've already put in that filing cabinet, it's like the brain just sets it on top. So every time we go back into our mind or into our memories, the first thing it sees is that folder, that manila folder that hasn't been organized yet because it doesn't know where to place it. And dreams will kind of try and place that folder somewhere. And that process can be very emotionally intense. That's why I recommend working with a counselor to help sort of place that and put that back into the larger life narrative so you can move forward towards your goals.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, there's a range of responses of kind of dreaming around aphantasia, just as a kind of a side issue apart from the PTSD. Is because my guest who talked about aphantasia, I wish I could remember her name, said that she actually doesn't have any waking life images, but she dreams in images. So she has some capacity for images.
Yeah.
But that to having that sensation of pain, it sounds very difficult though in a dream. Julie, thank you for calling.
Thanks.
Okay, so we are near. That was great. That was near the end of our time together. So, what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you, Jesse? Is it through that webpage?
Yeah, I'd say send me a DM on the social media platforms. I'm everywhere at Lyon Mental Health, Lyon Mental Health. I think the greatest project I'm working on right now is if you check me out on YouTube. To your point, Catherine, how do we share and educate people about what we're doing? Because nobody's really doing counseling and dreams at the same time. I put out a YouTube show. It's an hour-long deep dive with the guests from my audience to share and demonstrate what a counseling session that is focused on dreams really looks like. And so they're real people with real dreams. And we work through them to find out what emotional content the brain is desperately trying to share in order to find peace and happiness in your life. So check me out on YouTube, Lyon Mental Health.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jesse. This is a real pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been just the best.
Okay.
I had a great time.
All right. Well, take care. We'll be in touch, okay?
Sounds great. Have a good day.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. The Dream Journal is produced at the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, and we are live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific at ksqd.org. The podcast is released on the Monday after the show. It spreads interest in dreaming when you subscribe, rate, and review. I am Catherine Bell. You can find out about my dream coaching practice at experientialdreamwork.com. Email me at catherine@ksqd.org. That's KATHERINE. Follow Experiential Dreamwork and hashtag The Dream Journal on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn to keep up with the shows. I'd like to thank Rick Cleffel, engineer and music creator, audio editing by Suki Wessling, phones by Eric Nelson. Intro and outro pieces are both by Mood Science. And tomorrow morning when you wake up, take a minute to write down your dream and bring it to the next Dream Journal.
Perfect is the enemy of good. The journey to perfect always starts with should. Should is a word that should not exist. If you want to use it, try hard to resist, to resist, to resist, resist, resist. Meet me in the middle. just tempting fate. You won't get what you want, won't negotiate. Meet me in the middle, that's just tempting fate. Fate, tempting fate, 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 tempting fate, tempting fate, fate, fate. Oh, it's a done deal. Sausage made, get something done deal. Hopes might fade, forget your done deals. It's in the past, a dumb and working deal. Gonna make it last, last, last. You've got to give up something that you want. You've got to give up something that you truly want. And if I give up and let you have enough, who's gonna give up what they truly want? You've got to give up something that you want. You've got to give up something that you truly want. And if I give up and let you have enough, who's gonna give up what they truly want? They truly want, they truly want, they truly want, they truly want, they truly want. Perfect is the enemy of good. The journey to perfect always starts with should. Should is a word that should not exist. If you want to use it, try hard to resist, to resist, to